Hello there, and welcome to the Double Zero Challenge channel. We do just one thing on this channel, and that's to take these two D10 dice and see how long it takes before we can roll a double zero. If you would like to play along, please write down your guess now, but keep it to yourself. Don't disclose the result in the comments. Let other people watch the video and find out for themselves. With odds of 1 in 100 to roll a zero, there two zeros rather. There will no doubt be other things to explain as we go along, but we'd better get cracking with it. So, roll number 1. And that's a 3 and a 1 there. I'll announce them all as we go. That's a 2 and an 8. And we have a 6 and a 7. And that's a 4 and a 3. And that's a 3 and a 6. That's a 9 and a 5. A 7 and a 5. And that's a 1 and a 7. We have a 2 and a 3. And that's a double 2. Now, although we're looking for double zeros, we will take account of any doubles we encounter along the way. Typically, we would expect one double for every 10 rolls, and that's exactly what's happened here. So let's move on and see whether that pattern continues. And that's a 5 and a 3. We have a 2 and a 6. And that's a 2 and a 3. It's a double 9, so we'll put it on the bottom shelf there. And that's a 0, but it's a 1. Remember, we're looking for a double 0 in this case. And that's a 3 and a 6. A 5 and a 6. And that's a 2 and a 9. And we have a 6 and an 8. That's a 0, but it's a 7. And we have a 5 and an 8. And that's a 6 and a 1. And that is a double 2, the third double of the session. And that's a 2 and a 7. Oops, excuse me. Right, so that's a 9, and on the floor it's a 5. There's minimal editing on this channel, so if any mistakes like this happen, you'll likely see it. This cup it's great, but it sometimes shoots the dice out early. Anyway, that's irrelevant, as is the result, 5 and a 9. So just mark that down, and we'll move on. Oh, that's a 3 and a 9. And that's a 2 and a 4. We have a 2 and a 9. And that's a 7 and a 9. We have a 0, but we have a 3. And that's a 6 and a 9. And we have a 5 and a 3 there. And that's a 0, but it's a 5. And that's a 0, but it's an 8. It's a 4 and a 1. And that's a 7 and a 9. And we have a 2 and a 6. That's a 5 and a 9. And a 5 and a 3. A 4 and a 3. And that's a 7 and a 9. And there we have a double 3. We'll stick that on the pile. And it's a double 8. Again, we'll stick that on the pile. And it's a double 4. You know the drill. And it's a double 9. Ditto the above. Now we're approaching 50. When we get to 50, we're going to do a nice big double-handed roll, as we do with every multiple of 50. That's coming up not immediately, but in a few rolls' time. Let's see how many other doubles we get. Probably none. 7 and a 9 there. And that's a 6 and a 7. And we have a 7 and a 6. And that's a 0, but it's a 3. Time for the two-hander. And 9 and a 3, which means we play on for 100 rolls. And that is a double 9. Our 8th double of the session, but not the one we're looking for. And that's an 8 and a 9. We have a 3 and an 8. And that's a 9 and a 3. It's an 8 and a 1. And that's a 2 and a 9. We have a 1 and an 8. And that is a double 5. It's a 0, but it's a 3. A 7 and 2. And we have a 4 and a 3. That is a 6 and a 3. And that's a 5 and a 4. And we have a 9 and a 1. And that is a 9 and a 1. We have a 3 and a 6. 2 and a 6. And a 3 and a 6. 4 and a 2. And that's a 1 and an 8. We have a 5 and a 7. And that's an 8 and a 9. 2 and a 1. And that's a 3 and a 5. 2 and a 4. And a double 7. 10th double of the session, well ahead of the 1 in 100 hypothetical odds. And that is a double 1. There we go. Again on the pile. 3 and a 9. And that's a 0, but it's a 5. That's a 0, and it's a 0! Fire the trumpets. Okay, so we've got 50, 60, 70, 80. 80 rolls, slightly beating the odds of 1 in 100. And as for doubles, we have 11 of those, so slightly more than we would expect for that number of rolls. However, as we all know, hypothetical odds does not mean real world performance. Thank you very much for watching this video. You take care and roll on next time.